this video for section 5.1, we're going to talk about how to solve systems of linear equations and also about what it means to break even. So our first problem is asking us to graph on the Desmos graphing calculator these two equations, and the question is, where do the lines cross? So I'm going to pull up my Desmos graphing calculator. And entering the equations on the left side. So my equations are 3x minus 2y equals negative 5. And 4x plus y equals 8. So I can see the point where the two lines cross is right here. And if I click on it, Desmos will give me the coordinates of that point. So they cross at the point 1, 4. This point is also called the solution of the system that contains the two lines. So when you see the word find the solution or to solve the system, that means that we are finding the point where the two lines cross. Question 2 says, what does it mean for a company to break even? Break even means that your profit is $0. You aren't making money, you aren't losing money, you're bringing in exactly $0 profit. Or you could also say that it means that your revenue, which is your money coming in, is equal to your costs, which is your money that you're spending. So for this example, we have a graph that's showing the revenue and the cost. And so the break-even point is where those two lines are crossing. So the revenue and the costs are the same. On the left side of that point, we see that the costs are greater. So that means you have negative profit or you're losing money. And after that point, our revenue is greater than our costs. So that's where we're making money. So how many radios must be produced and sold for the company to break even? That would be the x-coordinate of that point where the two lines crossed, which is 500. The y-coordinate of that point tells me that when I produce and sell 500 radios, my costs is $25,000 and my revenue is also $25,000, leaving me with $0 profit. So now we have another example with canoes. A company that manufactures small canoes has a fixed cost of $18,000. It costs $20 to produce each canoe. The selling price is $80 per canoe. And we want to let X represent the number of canoes produced and sold. So my cost function, I'm going to add my fixed cost of $18,000 to the $20 that it costs to produce each canoe, which is going to be 20 times the number of canoes produced, which is X. So 18,000 plus 20x. My revenue function is the money that I bring in from selling canoes. Selling price is $80 per canoe, so 80 times the number of canoes, which is X. We are assuming that we are selling all of the canoes that we produce, which is an assumption for our business, but that's what we're assuming for this problem. So now we're going to determine the break-even point. It says you can use the Desmos graphing calculator or another method. So I'm going to use the Desmos graphing calculator here. You might have learned other methods like substitution, setting the equations equal to each other here would also work, but I'm going to use Desmos here. So I'm going to graph both of these equations. Get rid of my old lines here. And so the first one that we're going to graph is the cost, which is 18,000 plus 20x. And then my revenue, which is 80x. I'm using R of x and C of x here. You could also just use y. Now, it's going to look a little bit strange on this graph because I don't have my scale set up correctly. So it looks like I have kind of a vertical line almost here. very steep line. But remember that we're talking about dollar amounts, and here I see that my y-intercept is 18,000. So that's a pretty big number before my green graph is even going to show up. So let's play around with some settings here. I'm going to set the y-axis up to 30,000. And now I can see the green line and the purple line here at the bottom. I can see that I'm going to need a lot more canoes in order to see where they cross. So let's start by doing 500 here. Okay. There we go. I can see the point where the lines cross. One thing that you can do on Desmos, if you haven't seen this already, is I can also change the scale on the X and Y axis by clicking Shift, and then I get this double-ended arrow that I can move around in order to change the scale. So that might be helpful to you as well. I can do that on the Y-axis and the X-axis. So clicking on the point, I see that it's 300 canoes and $24,000. Just like before, we have number of products on the X-axis and dollar amounts on the Y-axis. So the break-even point is 300 and 24,000. And this means that when the company produces and sells 300 canoes, money coming in equals money going out. So that is the definition of the break-even point, that those two things are the same here. So we're going to go with answer choice B.